You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome to another You Are Loved podcast, where we have the amazing George Pitagorsky on with us today, who is coaches and writes to promote optimal wellness and performance by cultivating critical thinking, mindfulness, self-awareness, healthy relationships, and mindset change. With decades of experience in organizations integrating 50 plus years of meditation and yoga, George teaches how to apply meditations and non-dual thinking in daily life. Welcome to the podcast, George. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this.
Well, it's a long story. I'll cut it somewhat shorter. I got started in this way back in the early 1970s, and I was introduced to yoga, to a particular type of yoga called Kundalini yoga, and that led to just a whole range of openings into different aspects of meditation, Eastern philosophy and psychology. And at the same time, I was a principal in a software development startup. This was, again, back in, we started the company in '68. And I was, in effect, faced with this dichotomy of, on one side, yoga and, sitting cross-legged and doing heavy breathing exercises and all of that, and being in an executive position in a growing company. I ultimately dropped out and took a couple of years to do more in-depth study of meditation and different aspects of Eastern and Western psychology, and then realized that I needed to make a living, since I had a family with two children, and they were in their early years. So I, came back in and started a consulting practice in the area of project and process management, and integrated my teachings and learnings from the world of meditation. And one of the things that I learned in my time away was that there's no separation of one from the other. So that's kind of my story.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So with that, have you so in your bio and stuff like that, you talk about healthy life no matter what. So tell us a little about what you feel like true wellness looks like beyond physical health, and how someone could cultivate or begin to cultivate that in the middle of everyday stress.
Yeah. Well, wellness is a complex of things, so one certainly wants to be physically fit and well. And at the same time, we need to be financially well. We need to be emotionally well. We need to have relationships that are healthy. So there's this complex, and spiritually healthy, and so forth. So we bring together these different elements of how we're living our lifestyle, and based on a balancing act that we're doing with regard to that. Sometimes we're feeling painful and old, sometimes we're feeling young, depending on our situation. We learn to cultivate a certain degree of equanimity. It's okay being how we are. And through that, we don't take ultimately a passive approach. We just recognize that we need to accept the way we are. And then from there, find means for being as well as you can be.
Yeah.
So a person who has physical disability is not going to necessarily be able to do the skiing in the Olympics. So you find a way to be well in whatever it is that you're experiencing.
Okay. Oh, I like that. So you go to be well within the abilities that you have right now. So even if, say, we're having some major physical issues or emotional issues or whatever, then it's like, okay, yes, I'm dealing with this, but now how do I figure out how to start to get better with exactly where I'm at instead of trying to fix it and then think about getting better?
Exactly, exactly. So accepting things as they are, and then from that acceptance, you're in a much better position to figure out what to do next.
Okay. All right. Great. So, I'm assuming that over these years, since you've been doing it for a long time, have you worked with people from like different faiths and backgrounds?
Different faith backgrounds, yes, yes, yeah. I've worked with people from all different kinds of faith backgrounds. So the kind of work that I do and that I teach is not associated with a particular religion. So I have a lot of background in Buddhism and some in Hinduism, and come from a Jewish background as well. But what I found is that these practices that are more about wellness are, they're secular. They're
Mm-hmm.
the kind of thing that we can just bring to the table because we have all of the materials that we need. We have a mind,
Mm-hmm.
we have a body, we have breath, we can imagine. And then we build on top of that some kind of belief system. Uh, if the belief system is useful and helps one become more well, then we keep that belief. But
Yeah.
if the belief is getting in the way, or it eliminates different possibilities that might be helpful, then there needs to be some kind of an adjustment to the belief. But I've worked with people who are, orthodox this and orthodox that, and the techniques are, do you breathe? You know, uh, do you have a body?
Yeah. I hope so. Sometimes I just feel like I'm a ghost walking in the world, but
Well, that also.
yeah. I ask because I'm a born again Christian, and I believe in Jesus and stuff like that, but there was times where like I've gone to yoga and done like yoga moves, and there's times where like I've had really bad muscle spasms in my lower back, and I found this lady on YouTube that had stuff specifically for yoga poses and stuff like that, specifically for like lower back issues, and it was always very helpful,
Yeah.
and the stretching and then the strengthening, and it's a lot harder than people would think. So but my concern always was like with the religious, I guess, like one of my closest friends, she's Buddhist, but um uh but one of my concerns was the religious practices, I guess, behind what started like yoga exercises. Like obviously meditation stuff kind of goes across the board, and I wish that I would meditate more. And I do like to have my alone time, but even when I'm in my alone time, do stuff to keep my mind busy, whether it's playing on my phone, listening to a podcast, whatever. But I know that I need times where I just need like an hour or something like that, or 30 minutes just to be in my thoughts and pray and talk to God and stuff like that, and not keep my
Yeah.
mind too busy. But that's one of my biggest concerns, I guess, or fears when it comes to that. So when you've worked with people that were Christians or Catholic or whatever, like how has that played out? And like what were
Well,
their thoughts, and what was your thoughts behind that?
Well, my thoughts on it are this: that from the study that I've made, yoga didn't grow out of a religion. Religion grew out of yoga.
Mm,
So you can apply the principles, the basic principles of yoga to any religion. And in fact, one of my main teachers was very clear that he thought of Jesus as being like a realized being, different language and so forth. But the notion of whether or not you pray to Jesus or you pray to Krishna or you don't pray to anybody, but at the same time, you're looking to be loving and kind in the world.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So the techniques, the yoga, the different acupuncture treatments, the breathing exercises and so forth, they're non-sectarian. You don't have to buy into a particular religious belief in order to use your breath to relax the muscles in your spine. You don't have to, give any of that up. In fact, the basic Buddhist meditation technique, it's called mindfulness meditation, is very, very bare. It's simply teaching us to be able to be present in the moment and objectively observe what happens in our mind and body and environment.
Okay.
So if I have that as a base where I am present and I can feel my heart opening to Jesus, or Jesus in my heart, or my heart just opening and allowing that to be there, what more could you want?
Right.
Then you add prayer. One might call it prayer to God. Another might call it aphorisms that are generating energy in the realm. Whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. You're presenting some kind of desire. You're presenting an intention.
Okay.
To be in some way. And as you're presenting that, does it really matter who you're presenting it to?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was just curious because that was always one of my biggest, because I guess I got a little dogmatic with it, and I enjoyed doing the poses and everything and exercise behind it and the breathing techniques and the way that I felt relaxed and stuff after. But I just wanted to just make sure that I wasn't, going against my faith and, and it wasn't someone else impressed that upon me. I mean, I obviously heard things, but I just, that was just my personal concern. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are many people who, I remember teaching a small group of actually, somebody asked me to teach meditation to a group of students that he had in the world of psychology. I came in and I was teaching them how to do this meditative practice. And two of the people were very orthodox religious people. And they walked out.
Really?
They couldn't deal with it for one reason or another. They had that thought that there was something illicit about it, something that was against their faith. So you're not, that information is out there. There are people who, Christians and Jews as well, and Muslims. They're all capable. Small groups of them view anything that's outside of the the box, so to speak, as being evil.
Okay. No, I like that. Okay. Yeah.
You don't want to buy into that particularly.
So with thinking through a lot of that, you combine critical thinking with mindfulness, which I love that, and it's a unique approach. So how do you think those two things work together to help people make better decisions and live more peacefully?
Good question. So I view mindfulness as a base for making any kind of decision or in any kind of relationship. So it's a base that gives us the ability to kind of step back from ourselves and observe with a small percentage of our mind, but observe what's going on with a great deal of acceptance, total acceptance if that's possible. Observing the inner workings, the way our emotions are coming up, the way that our belief systems are getting triggered in some way or another. All of that becomes fuel for mindfulness. That's what we're being mindful of, the way things are in and around us. So that is a base. It's a foundation.
Yeah.
Now you bring in critical thinking, and you're now applying mental effort. You're applying cognitive effort to seeing whether or not what you're believing and what you're thinking and what you're saying has any relevance in some kind of an factual, analytical way.
Mm-hmm.
So it balances out emotion and intuition. So what we have is, you don't want to give up your intuition. You have the sense of something being true.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's, and that's fed by a number of different things. It's fed by your mindset. It's fed by your belief systems and so forth. So you have that quality. And if you only have that, then what happens is that you're in a position to be taken advantage of by whatever mind stuff you've cultivated. You're not in balance. So what we do is we bring the balance by becoming more analytical, and that's what critical thinking is about. It's saying, okay, why is this supposed to be the way? What you say, this is the way things are, but why?
Mm-hmm.
What's the evidence that allows you to think that? Now, you don't have to buy 100% because there are some things that there's just no evidence that you just know. But you have to be careful because there are so many different possibilities of being caught up in bias and caught up in belief systems that are really not based on loving kindness, that are based on, some misinterpretation of the of the core teachings. So you balance with the cognitive, and you're bringing together, in effect, the cognitive with the emotional, intuitive, and with that balance, you're now in a better position to mindfully decide on what you're going to be doing in the world, how you're going to be living your life.
Yeah. There's I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a book that I like to read a couple of times, where I do the audiobook a couple times a year, called The Four Agreements by Miguel. Yeah, that's a really great book. And
I like that book. Yeah.
It's very inspirational every time. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to get better at this. And I need to get more, I need to start to lower down my podcast listening of chaos and controversy in the world and start to get back into my self-development books, because I'm really always wanting to be better and grow as a human. And I think recently I was just thinking about this, like I've settled in certain, I feel like, character flaws of my own personal characters and my own personal character flaws. I've kind of settled in that, and this is how I am and so forth, but it's aspects of my personality that I don't really like. And for example, I was telling my friend that's actually Buddhist, we were hanging out yesterday, and I was like, well, that's why I keep you around. I mean, I didn't really say it like that. I was like, because you help, and I have certain friends that I have around me that I feel like help regulate me more and offer some more peace in my life, and really get to that. And then so I just want to, so I think that is like kind of a conviction that I need to start dabbling more back into my self-development, reading the word more, and then also with books, and like getting back into the Four Agreements and some other books that are to remind me, because I think sometimes because we get so hit with so much stuff in the world that we forget about the greatness that lives inside of us and how things can change and be better. And so what are we pushing into our minds? So yeah. So talking about that, you've actually written your own book, How to Be Happy Even When You're Mad, Sad, or Scared, which is such a powerful concept. So talking about that, like self-regulation, learning how to be more at peace. So, sometimes when I'll have my emotions, like my anxiety goes up, I have these like frustrations, and I'm just like, I don't even know how to deal with any of this stuff. And I just really get very quiet and closed off. And as I'm processing and going through everything, so how can we begin to see like difficult emotions not as problems, but as teachers?
Good question. So, a couple of things. One, you mentioned self-help books and, books of any kind that are in this realm are very, very useful. And don't get me wrong, I think it's very useful to have a base in spiritual books of any kind, that are useful to you. But books are just one side of it. The practice, and that's the question you're asking. What do you do to get better at being able to regulate yourself in terms of your emotions and your beliefs and internal? And when I say beliefs, any kind of mindset, like the one that you're talking about. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. That's a mindset belief that you don't need. So, how you get past that is come back to this mindfulness practice. So balancing the books and the teachings that are in the books is level of experience. So one level you have the word, and another level you have the experience that the words are reflecting. Yeah. So how do you develop the aspect of experiencing without being caught up in the experience, without being driven by your emotions, let's say? Well, the answer is you cultivate mindful awareness. You cultivate more and more of the ability to be self-aware. So being self-aware simply means that you are able to see, in some respect, your own thinking and your own feelings and your own physical sensations. You see how it's working as you're playing the role. Yeah. So how do you cultivate that? You take on a practice, a meditation practice that is designed to cultivate mindful awareness.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's the base. Now there are many, many different meditation techniques. The one in that book that you mentioned, How to Be Happy, it was using more of an imagery. The child who is the protagonist of the story gets caught up in temper tantrums and isn't old enough to really start a meditation practice, a mindfulness meditation practice, but has the capacity to visualize his emotions as just things that are there, that his feelings, and he can then, and in the book it says, battle with them. If I was rewriting that book now, I wouldn't use that term battle with them, but I would use the term engage them.
I love that.
Back
Yes.
to your question, how do I engage these bad feelings so that I'm not trying to push them away before they're ready to go? And at the same time, I have the intention of not being caught up with them. So can I feel a very seriously disturbing sensation, which is our negative emotions? Can I feel that? Can I allow that to be there without having to do anything about it? And if I can, then it will change for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately it will dissipate, because everything dissipates ultimately. So I start to cultivate that quality of being able to step back So sometimes I'll use guided imagery to do that, which is basically what's used in that book is a guided imagery that gives the child or the adult. When I talk about that book, I say it's for children of all ages.
I mean, we're all dealing with our inner child anyways,
Exactly.
even at 80 or 90 or 100, whatever.
Exactly. So it's that, am I being clear with regard to that technique?
And when you say imagery, like, what do you mean by that?
Well, just take the example of you have an itch. Yeah. So you can imagine, itches can be intense, and your knee-jerk reaction is to scratch the itch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of doing that, can you breathe in a golden light and direct it to that part of your body that has the itch or the pain or what have you? So you guided imagery would be saying, take in golden light and bring it into the center of your chest.
Yeah.
And from there, on the exhalation, bring it down to the place or up to the place that has the itch or the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're doing that, feel the movement of your own breath, relaxing, and then taking out the itch with an inhalation and exhaling it. There's a number of different, there's like tens of thousands of different imageries that you can that can be used. But it's more or less the idea of bringing to yourself a certain sense of a kind of a subtle body almost that is enabling you to self-heal. So that's one kind of an imagery, and other kinds of imageries are imagining yourself on an island and in a beautiful location with the sea and all of that for relaxation kind of things.
Okay, I like that. That kind of reminds me when I was when I was having a conversation with one of my friends, this guy friend of mine, this past week, and he was saying something to me that I didn't particularly care for, and it made me uncomfortable, or it was like, I don't even remember what it was that he said, but I just remember my response was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, stop, don't do that. And so later I reflected back on that, and I was like, okay, I could have came across as being dismissive to what he was saying to me. And he has this thing where he feels attacked even when I'm not trying to do that. And in general, that's his thing. But I was like, okay. So I'm like, next time I'm just gonna just keep my mouth shut and breathe, because I would never want, and I do have a tendency to do that, just be like, whatever. And it's just like a response that I have that I know that does come across as dismissive, not when I'm currently doing it. I'm not thinking I'm being dismissive, but later on when I reflect on the situation, that is that's something that I want to fix within myself and find tools that can help counteract that negative behavior.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. It's basically something like what you're describing could be coming from impatience on one level, or a not believing what the other person is saying is valid, but not having the way of countering it in a dialogue. So it could be, it could be different, different causes of it, and usually it's a combination. But the technique to get past that is again back to this cultivation of greater degrees of mindfulness,
without damaging the relationship. Yeah.
But I mean, basically, you're seeing what's happening internally. You're recognizing the desire to say, okay, and you don't say it. You just let it go. And that's where you might engage a little bit of a breathing out of that feeling.
Mhm.
Or, if you want to, you can, create an image of Jesus in your heart,
Yeah. Oh, I love that,
and
George.
opening your heart into that situation,
Hmm.
and letting him take care of the impatience or
Yeah.
the fear or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that. One of the other things that you said, which I'm sure other people, I'm sure I'm not the only person that deals with this, but another thing that you said, like when talking about the imagery and reflection as well, is so like another one of my character flaws. I don't ever claim to be perfect. Is that if my anxiety gets really high and I'm in a deep discussion and I may not particularly care for what the person's saying, maybe I feel like there's some truth to it, I don't know how to respond to it, whatever it is, as I'll shut down and then I'll just want to walk away from the situation and be like, I'm out, and just,
Mhm.
but then later on I regret doing that because we didn't get a chance to work through it. So based off what you're saying, I think that one of the things that myself or others can do, if they're not feeling emotionally safe, they're not in a safe space, and they want to flee the situation, but they really value and care about that relationship, is to then um is to just it's okay to say, hey, just can you give me like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Or just give me a minute. I'm not leaving the conversation. Just give me 1 minute to just breathe for a second, and then we can come back to this. Right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. Show, it's a time for just absorbing and integrating whatever it is that's going on. It's great. And, you have to also take into consideration the other party. So in some cases, doing exactly what you said, I would say works in 90% of the cases. But other sometimes you'll run across a person who doesn't have the sense of being able to step back.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the attack in some respects. So
Mm.
you have to be able to deal with that kind of issue again by saying, I need some space. I need to see how we can digest this. And not only are you doing that for yourself, but you're giving the other person an
Mm.
opportunity to do the same thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and the more you're in sync with the other person on that level of your interpersonal process, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I work with, I was a process improvement person, consultant. So what I bring to that is the idea that we have multiple levels of process going on. Yeah, so you've got the argument or the discussion that you're having with the other person. Maybe you can call that the content.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the way that you're going about it. Are you
Mm-hmm.
doing it like a formal dialogue, or you're doing it in some, so there's that, the way that the communication is going. And then there's the internal process that both parties are experiencing. What's going
Mm.
on inside the mind, the impatience, the fear, whatever it is. So you've got that going on as another level of process. And the more you can share that level with the other person, not talking about how you're feeling, in any detail, but to recognize that they're going through whatever it is that they're going through internally. You're
Mm-hmm.
going through what you're going through internally. And sometimes it's useful to make sure that those things are in somewhat sync.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're working with another person who is attuned to that kind of communication, you can then share the fact that, I'm really feeling impatient about what you're saying, or I'm feeling, that I really disagree with it, but I can't right now say why,
Yeah.
whatever. If you can say that to the other person
Mm.
and they can accept that and work with that, then you're really in a relationship that's healthy.
Oh, I love that, because a lot of times I'm good at like expressing. It's so weird. Like I feel like I'm so weird. But there are times where like, especially when I'm more level-headed and my anxiety isn't like filling me up, um, that I have that ability to be able to do that. So I'm going to make a conscious effort I'm going to start to consciously do it. I don't want to make an effort because I don't want it to
Mhm.
try per se. This is something I feel like this is a really good tool that can be implemented, right? Say, listen, this is
Yes.
feeling right now. I just need a minute. I'm not really sure how to express what I'm feeling. I don't know how to process this right this second. Just give me like 2 minutes and then we can come back to this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like the way you said it better, but that was how my mind processed it.
No, I said it quite well. Yeah.
Thank you. And so on top of that, you also teach non-dual thinking, which can be a new
Yeah.
concept for me. I'm not really sure about what that means, but could you explain what that means in like a practical, everyday way and how it can transform the way we see challenges in people?
Yeah. It's a tough one. Well, I think that, basically what non-duality is a way of thinking that sees the whole as uh, as kind of a grand field within which everything is taking place. So it recognizes that you and I are different people. We have, different sensibilities and so forth. And, this phone is here, your phone is there, or your cameras or whatever. All of that stuff is there, but it's all taking place in this field that we share.
Mm-hmm.
So in that field, there's now the ability to become less attached to who we are as individuals. We become less ego attached.
Mm.
We start to identify with something beyond our sense of who I am.
Mm.
And as we do that, we become more and more likely to be able to be empathetic and have kindness as a base, because at least theoretically, that's our nature.
Yeah.
That's already the way we are. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that we've covered it over with all sorts of beliefs and experiences that weren't so good and all of that kind of stuff. So now what we're doing is we're opening to that. We're opening to letting go of the illusion of who I am without, while at the same time realizing that who I am is, it's pretty important, because without that, where would I be?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of understanding that we can be expansive and a small dot in the universe,
Mm-hmm.
if not even less than that.
Mm.
And at the same time, we're here and we're now and we're in these bodies and minds. So it's non-dual reality it's kind of easy to talk about in some respects, but it gets too complicated when one talks about it. So what it really is about is coming in touch with an inner sense of open, clear, boundless awareness.
Mm.
So as a Christian, you might consider that to be God.
Mm-hmm.
Without, and beyond any kind of concept.
Right. Yeah, knowing who I am in Christ is like
Yes,
and with
exactly.
knowing that he's boundless and is the creator and able to do anything, then that can help open me up to many other possibilities and peace and love and kindness and tolerance and patience and all of that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. In some beliefs, there's the notion of becoming that. Not
Yeah.
even becoming that, because you already are that.
Mm-hmm.
So can you let go of all of the stuff that's in the way of letting that quality out?
Yeah. That's why I think like children, especially in elementary school, are just so amazing because they haven't lived like all the crap that adults
Yes.
in their lives, and they don't have all these reference points of negativity. They just have their small little world, and they just still have so much hope and love and just want to
Yeah, yeah.
be friends and great. And I think that my goddaughter and my cousin's daughter, who's 8, has really been a great example of that, of love and patience and just wanting to be loved by you, you know? And
Yeah, yeah.
that's all that they ask for. And I just think that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's wonderful. And children have this capacity to be right there in the moment, and until they're taught not to be like that, they are present. They know how to. They know how to party. they,
Yeah.
they know how to really be happy in whatever it is that's happening.
Okay. Now, you, George, have integrated over 50 years of wisdom, teachings, meditation, and life experience. So, looking back, what's one truth about life that took you the longest to truly understand?
Well, I'm still trying. It's the. I think it's the ability to accept and let go. That's
Mhm.
the thing that keeps coming up and up and up for me. Accepting things as they are and letting go to the extent that I can allow my skills and my knowledge and my sensibilities to take over,
Mhm.
like to be in flow. I don't do. Are you familiar with the concept of flow?
Yes, because I like to go with the flow of stuff. Like I a lot, like even right now, I'm just not sure. Like there's certain aspects of my life that I have goals and stuff for,
Mhm.
but there's also certain aspects that I'm just going with the flow with, and I'm not trying to control, and I'm just moving forward with it because I'm in my 52, and my parents are now 78 years
Mhm.
old, and both are now having issues and
Yeah,
living in different states. So I want to, and I'm an only child with my mom and pretty much with my dad. And so with that, it's just saying, okay, I can't be in both places. So I set up systems, and then I just go and be where I need to be for my parents at that time. And I don't
right,
try to say, hey, this is, and if I'm working somewhere, whatever, they have to be flexible. If not, then I have to quit because I have to go be for my parents, because that's the most important thing for me, is making sure that my parents are okay.
right. So you're in flow in that sense
Yeah.
of not wanting to, knowing that you can't control things, and you're
Right.
allowing them to unfold, and they're unfolding it
Exactly.
probably as well as they can. Because if you were not like that, you would be putting too much tension, and you're getting your own way. So
Yes.
it's that quality of being able to do that,
Yes.
to more and more allow the situation to be as it is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then work with it,
Yeah.
let go into it.
We just do the best that we can.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I can say that I'm blessed, like beyond measure, in regards to the quality of friendships that I've had for over 30 plus years, and having that are like family. And then
Hmm.
how it really is a village when it comes to like our parents, our children, the children, like all of that, and saying, hey, like my aunt doesn't drive. She pretty much takes care of my mom, and full time. She stays home, and then, but she doesn't drive. And I was working, and my mom's doctor's appointment had overlapped. So my friend Amy, who is my business partner here, and she's in my logo with me, she went and picked my mom and my aunt up. And then I was like, just drop them off. I'm going to go right after work. I'll be there within 20
Hmm.
after they get there. but she waited until I got there because she wanted to make sure they were okay, which she didn't have to, but I really appreciated that. And then she went and did her own stuff. But that was only able to work, and we were only able to meet that for my mom because I had friends that are like family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
figured it out. If she wasn't able to do it, I would have just got an Uber. It's not a big deal, but I was safe, felt safer with someone that's pretty much like my sister, do that and be there with them,
Yeah.
So
that's so important in life.
So for someone listening who feels overwhelmed, stuck, or uncertain, what would you say is the first step toward living a more peaceful, intentional, and fulfilled life today?
Well, I would say that for the most part, it's really learning how to. I have another book that, aside from the one that you mentioned, called
what is it?
It's called The Peaceful Warrior's Path.
Oh, I love that. I always feel like David in the Bible. So I love that.
He wasn't so peaceful, but
that's why I'm saying the peaceful warrior, because I try to be peaceful, but I also feel like a warrior.
So anyway, in that book, the first, in effect, exercise or practice that I recommend to answer your question about where a person start is the cultivation of what I call taking breathers.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a moment to step back and cultivate the ability to just take a few breaths and be in touch with the sensations of your body, the air against your skin, and just be present. And if you do that, even for less than a minute, 20 times a day, whenever you feel the urge, or you can set a timer or what have you, even if you do 2 breaths or 3 breaths, just doing that will cultivate an ability to relax in the moment and step back. And that becomes the foundation that I talked about before, this cultivation of mindfulness. Now you can take that exercise and you can do it for, as you said, a half an hour, for example, of sitting quietly, if you can find a quiet place and, where you're not going to be disturbed, and you sit, stand, whatever however you're most comfortable. And you do that practice of following the breath, being aware of the sensations of it, the sensations of your body, present, and watching the thoughts, because the thoughts are going to come up, and just continuously bringing the attention back to the breath. And being present in that way, particularly if you're doing it for a more extended period, will increase the amount of times that you're actually able to do it during your day-to-day. And that's the ultimate goal, is to day-to-day be in a position to come back to presence, to step back and be able to be present and aware in whatever is going on, accepting, and then letting go into what you need to do next.
Right. So I love
that. But back to your question, what would a person do if they were in that, quality of life? Start a mindfulness meditation practice, but do it in a way that's clever.
Okay.
So you can read
some
my
of the
book.
ways that you suggested are in your books, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of your books, do you have the 2? Have you written any other books at all, or?
Yes, I have 5 books in total. And so there's, How to Be Happy, which is kind of a children's book. And then I have my most recent book is The Peaceful Warrior's Path.
I love that.
And then I've written a book on managing expectations.
Yes, which is so important, because a lot of times we get frustrated because our expectations were something that was not the other person's intentions, and then I wouldn't do it that way, Yeah,
exactly. So it's expectations, and then I wrote another book, managing conflict, managing disagreements between people, And then my actual first book is called The Zen Approach to Project Management,
Oh, okay.
which brings these kind of principles into the world of business and projects.
Yeah. I was going to say that sounds like a more of a business book, which
It is, but at the same
highly
time,
needed.
it's really it's got the same information in it that is in the Peaceful Warriors Path. Only the stories are different.
Okay. No, I love that. Where can someone find all of your books?
All of my books are on Amazon, and yeah, that's the place that I mostly say it's the simplest. But all of the thrift books, any of the booksellers, you can find my books there.
Okay. All right. And if someone wanted to find you, so if they wanted to be mentored by you or hire your practices, like how does that
Mhm.
work and where do they find you and all of that?
Okay, they can find me on my website, which is self-awareliving.com, self-awareliving.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn. Those are the two primary places. But selfawareliving.com has practices in it, some videos, and I've got a lot of articles. I have a newsletter called Breakthrough, which is accessible through the website as well.
Okay. All right. I love that. Self dash or hyphen aware living.
Awareness, self-awareness living.
Oh, okay. Self hyphen awareness living.com. Okay. Because on your picture, it shows it says self dash aware living, but
Oh,
it's
does it? Oh, I probably
hyphen.
misspelled it when I signed in.
Oh, yeah. Self hyphen awareness living.com. And we'll have all these
No,
links.
that's I'm getting confused. It is selfawareliving.com. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
It is selfawareliving.com.
Self
Yeah.
dash.
I got I was looking at the
Oh,
the book
yeah.
title and I got confused.
Yeah. No
I'm
problem.
old, so
Yeah, it happens to all of us.
yeah,
Self-awareliving.com. And I'm looking at your site right now. So
yes.
ask George anytime, anywhere. Okay. All right. I love that, George. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any last um, inspiration or word or phrase or anything, something that you like to share?
I like to leave people with the notion that they should be happy and healthy and loving and kind.
Yes. Love and kindness and know that they are loved, right?
Indeed.
And make sure that they tell their friends and their family before they hang up with them or say goodbye every single time and tell them that they love them.
Good practice. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right, George, thank you so much for coming on with us today. We'll have
Okay.
all
Thank
the
you.
links inside the description, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, thank you so much for another great You Are Loved podcast. If you'd like to get your any of the books, please go to self-awareliving.com. You can learn some more information about George. Also, you have the opportunity to take advantage of any of our children's books, One of One, which brings children through self-discovery, self-awareness, learning how to deal with bullying, learning more about themselves, learning how to be kind, and getting different life skills, as well as our teen journal that brings them through a vision board and a 21-day journal. Thank you, everyone, so much. We appreciate you. And go to youareloved.store for all of our books. Have an amazing day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.